Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and today we're going to set up a winch to raise and lower my slab flattening mill for storage up against the wall. 2 days ago, I set this up and hinged it to the wall, and I set up a cable where I could pull it. I shared that in a video, and you guys came through with some great suggestions. So I've aggregated those comments, picked out about 4 different ways I can improve this, and we're going to make all those improvements tonight and hopefully have a nice setup when we're done. So the first problem is I set a board on the wall that was just slightly higher than the slab mill, and I hinged it. Well, when that hinge cycles, my board on the wall comes in contact with the actual aluminum on the slab mill, and it doesn't allow full motion. It only comes up about 75% of the way. What we're going to do is lower this board down here. Now, my original thought was I would put this board here, but I got the wires crossed in my head somehow, and I was thinking I would have to put the hinge in between. And it's really hard to attach screws on that hinge in between. To attach it that way, this would have to be held up in the air. But that's just silly. That doesn't have to be done that way. I can just mount this on the wall, even with this one, lay the hinges across them, and it's still going to let it swivel. So the first thing I have to do before we get to the winch part of this is just lower this board. And that's such a simple thing. I actually should have got that one right the first time. Now that I've separated the back of it, I'm ready to pull all of this out, except that I've got to disconnect the cable from it. Now, apparently I did something really kind of dangerous with the way I attach these cables, and I'll show you that when we attach the new cable, but they call it saddling a dead horse when you put the cables into the clamp a certain way, and they can slip out under load. Nothing about how I did this cable is going to be reused, so I might as well pull it down. I took the board that was bolted to the wall and I've clamped it onto my frame here. There's a little bit of a problem in that I can't run the screws in right here. This one would miss the board. These two would be right on the edge. This board needs spaced out just a tiny bit. I'm going to take some extra hinges and use those as a spacer. At least try that and see how it goes. So by dropping a hinge in there on each side, my screws are lined up on here. And I think that'll make it swivel better. I'm just going to repeat that all the way down. I went ahead and doubled up the hinges. Completely unnecessary. But also in my case, I've got this entire box of door hinges. So that's going to do the job. Now, the cool thing about this is when I mounted this the first time, I had to try to get the height perfect on this and get it level. But since one end of this table is going to be sitting on the metal table, if I just slide this up against the wall with it on the table and then go ahead and bolt it through the ends, takes all the guesswork out of getting this positioned on the wall properly. I've mounted my first pulley up here, and one of the ideas I'm going to implement is have that first pulley run over to a second pulley off to the side so that my winch can be offset from the table. So I've got another D-ring and another pulley just like the last one, and I'm just going to attach this up by the ceiling with lag bolts. Last night I was looking at harborfreight.com and I talked myself into a 120 volt electric winch. It was $150. Thought that'll be so convenient. Just push the button, it goes up, push the button, it comes down. And I talked myself into that. Then I drove over there and walked around the store and changed my mind and got this guy for $30. And there's no case to be made that this is more convenient. It's just a simple trailer winch, and you have to crank the handle. But I can't see spending $150 on raising this up. I stood there and looked at them, the two. I had the two of them next to each other. Said $150 for more convenient or $30 and I have to turn a handle. And after staring at them for a little while, I decided to save the money. And I think this is going to work just fine. What we've got here is a hook that's already attached really well on the end. So I don't want to take this apart, but I've got to get it through the pulleys. So I'm going to go up there and take the pulleys apart. You can unbolt the side plate on the pulley, slip this cable in there, and do that on both of them, and get my cable through it. Obviously, with the hook on this end, it'll go through one pulley, through the other one, and then down the wall. So this is the loop I made, and this is the connection I put on it. A lot of people told me to put two connections on. I was already planning to do that if I left it as a permanent setup. I was kind of testing it with one, but definitely a good idea to put two. But you can see this is the end that I cut. This is the open end, and this one is connected. Apparently, it makes a difference which end is on top. Now, when I look at this, I don't see it. It feels like you've got the same amount of pressure from both sides of this clamp. But they say that if this end, which they call the dead end, is up against this side of the clamp, that's more likely to pull out. So I saddled this horse both directions. I got one of them is on a dead horse. I guess the other one's on a live horse. Just in case I misunderstood. But I don't want to make light or make jokes about what could be an important safety deal. So make sure if you're making a cable and you haven't done it before, that you look into it, look it up, see which way it's supposed to go. I just wrapped this electrical tape around it so that frayed ends don't poke me if there are any. So now, let's say this has been stored up against the wall for the last 3 months, because I'm honestly probably only going to use this a few times a year, which is why I want to store it up. It's for special projects. So it's been in use. I let it down. Now I'm going to take these off. Take them loose anyway. Take the cable out. Then I've got a hook on the wall over here. I'm just going to loop this over that hook. Now that's out of the way. There's no interference to me using the slab mill. Now I can grab that off the hook. Flip the lever on the winch. I think that's pretty good. Now, I could make some kind of a permanent fastener, use like ratchet straps to go across that so that the weight is no longer on the hoist. And if I did that, I might do it. Just put a big eyelet on each side, put a ratchet strap across it, tighten it down, then let the tension off of the winch, and that'll be easier on the setup. So I'm really happy with this. You guys were awesome giving me some ideas for how to make it better. I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.